Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson for this Best Bets for Wednesday, May 14th in the association. We'll give you best bets for Knicks, Celtics, as well as Warriors, Wolves, as the NBA just devolves into some sort of primordial ooze of chaos, and we try and figure out what to do with all of these situations. We're recording this on Tuesday, May 13th at around 2:47 p.m. Eastern time. We are waiting for a word from Shams Charania at basically any point on Jason Tatum's injury status. We do not know the status of Steph Curry. We do not know the status of Jason Tatum. If we get that news, we will keep it. We'll update you throughout this episode, but we'll try and prepare you for both outcomes based off of what we're expecting in those games. Everything we talk about, you can find it in the award-winning Action Network app. It's the best way for you to track your picks. You get all sorts of cool information on where the bets and money are coming in on. You can track the line and see how it's moved. You can track, if you get the pro subscription, you get indications of where the sharp money's coming in versus the public money, all sorts of cool stuff. Just check it out in the Action Network app. YouTube.com/The Action Network is where you can find Buckets live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those shows will not be in your podcast feed. They only appear here at youtube.com/The Action Network. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, 10:30 Eastern, check out Buckets Live. We'll react to the night's games. We will break down series prices. We'll react real time to how markets are evolving. Make sure to check it out. It's always a really good time. The shows are really great, and we're getting a really solid group of folks that are joining us for every show. It's a community. We're building a community here on Buckets, which I'm very proud of. We're glad to have you with us. I will drag Brandon Anderson on for a Buckets Live at some point during the conference finals. I will haul him up there. We start today, Brandon, though, with news that is outside the NBA playoffs, because we do want to talk about the lottery. This show talks about all things NBA, and we will try and find a betting angle on this. The Dallas Mavericks win the lottery. Spurs get second. The Sixers get third, and the poor Charlotte Hornets wind up fourth. My Wizards fall all the way to sixth, crushing for me as somebody. Well, okay, I'll be clear. I want to get things for the Wizards. Not the worst outcome, because this guarantees that they won't get the first or second pick bump. Like, whoever they wind up with is just like a guy. Like, if they wind up with Trey Johnson, like, really good player. Like, if they wind up with VJ Edgecombe, really good player. You can rest assured I will talk myself into the over regardless of who they draft in this June's draft. But the big story, of course, is the Dallas Mavericks trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis at 30 whatever years old and a bag of cookies. No offense, Max Christie. And then 3 months later, they land Cooper Flagg. Brandon, your reaction to the NBA lottery?
I mean, the reaction, even as the lottery is unfolding, and, you know, we go 14 down to 5, and we got the 4 other envelopes that are just hiding behind. And it's like, okay, Hornets, whatever. Who cares about the Hornets? But we got Mavs, Sixers, Spurs. Just, we're already buckled in for conspiracy theory. This is how you know it's not conspiracy theory, because we would have conspiracy theoried all 3 of those outcomes. If the Sixers win, we'd be like, oh, wow, Philadelphia, big market, title contender. Man, we just had to get him Cooper Flagg, didn't we? The Spurs win. Oh, man, Wemby and Cooper Flagg, right as Pop is retiring. We're setting them up for the future. We would have done the exact same goofy narrative on all 3. We picked the Mavs. It's just how lottery odds go. We react to numbers. The team with the best odds is 14%. They're supposed to not win the lottery. The team with the best odds is supposed to pick 5th. That's the most likely outcome. The lottery is working exactly as they intended it to.
Okay. I'm writing about this, so you get my full thoughts over at my Substack. I will just say this. 2 things are absolutely true. There is no way to justify the NBA being rigged in the lottery. There are too many actors that would have to stay quiet. It's too big of a risk for a $138 billion industry. That's what the NBA's market cap is. $138 billion. They would have to put that at risk. If it was discovered, confirmed, and convicted that they had engaged in rigging the lottery, that's fraud. That's a federal investigation. Multiple people are going to jail, and like very powerful people lose billions of dollars in that. Public confidence in the product goes away. the results would be catastrophic for the NBA. There is no amount of no amount of benefit that would outweigh the risks in this situation. I disagree with your argument on, well, if we would have made up the narrative. No, we wouldn't have. If the Sixers had been like, well, they sucked and they got it. This is not surprising to me. I don't think they want to help out Joel Embiid. I don't think that this isn't a title contender. This isn't like a beloved franchise. No way. Nope. I do not buy that. Wembanyama, nope. Don't buy that either. That's a French superstar coming off of a blood clot in one of the smallest markets with the least amount of media attention in the world. That is, there's no way that we would have been screaming conspiracy. We've been like, that's weird. Spurs luck, man. But the Mavericks, after trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm sorry. I don't blame anybody for feeling the way they do. I totally understand everybody on the rational side of this argument, which is like, guys, logically, there's no way that this is the case. I get it. I completely understand it. And I have no problem with anybody on the other side being like, oh, the number one guy didn't get 14%. They're not supposed to win the lottery. What about the team who had a 2% chance? 98% of the time, the Mavericks don't win. But 2% of the time they do. What about 2% of the time after they've traded Luka Doncic to the Lakers? I'm sorry. Like, my big thing here is, do not respond to people that feel, there's so many people that feel this way today. And there's a reason for that. It's not moronic. It's not an absolute lack of any sort of cognitive thinking. Most of them don't know about the process of what this entails. I do, Brandon. I know all about how the lottery is conducted. I know Ernst & Young's part in it. I know how the lottery balls are manufactured. I know all this, Brandon. And I'm still like, man, are you really? So I'm just saying, and we can move on because this is a betting podcast.
This is why they flatten the lottery odds. The three worst teams that were everyone's reaction.
I'm not surprised that the three worst teams didn't win, Brandon. I'm surprised that the team that traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers 3 months ago won.
I understand. And like, that's just like a fluky outcome. And I understand we can point to some other fluky outcomes and, LeBron left and now Cleveland got the number one pick. Like, I know we can do that. I'm probably going to hurt some feelings with this statement, but here we are. To me, I'm not a horoscope person. If I read a horoscope, I'm like, oh, okay, I read that thing. I can read myself into that sentence and find what fits me. Oh, it's describing exactly me, where I'm at in life, or a fortune teller situation. This is that to me. This is like, we got an outcome and we ascribed what we think is crazy about it. The top three teams are 14% each. That's 42% to be the number one pick. The top three teams are more likely mathematically.
No one cares about the top three teams, Brandon. If this was the Bulls, nobody would care. If this was, I'm trying to think of the Blazers, nobody would care.
I understand. The fact that it's not the 1.8%, it's the Mavericks 1.8%. I fully understand the point of that. To pivot slightly, obviously Dallas is a winner, getting to move up what should have been, before the Luka trade, not even a lottery pick at all. What should have been a playoff pick outside the top 14. Now you're number one. Obviously, huge win. I think Cooper Flagg is a loser in this deal. I think this is a really rough outcome for Cooper Flagg. Everyone's like, oh, the Mavs are going to be so good. Cooper Flagg is going to play small forward for this team. Cooper Flagg is not a small forward. They're going to have him playing in their like weird, ginormous lineups with Anthony Davis, 3 years, $187 million at age 32, playing 50 games a year. You got Lively and Gafford at center. So now Cooper Flagg is playing the three, having to take a lot of like spot up shots, playing the PJ Washington role. Kyrie Irving is coming off a torn ACL. He's dead $44 million player option that he's going to pick up for next year at age 33. Klay Thompson is 35. Dallas, like, after the Luka trade, it was all Nico Harrison's terrible, burn it to the ground. The team's trying to get out of here and move to Vegas, whatever. Like, this sucks for Cooper Flagg. This is a terrible outcome. And interestingly, from a betting perspective, I don't think it's a very good rookie of the year outcome for him. Playing out of position, having to share the ball with Anthony Davis, a lot of those games, with Kyrie when he does come back, without a point guard to set him up, I think it's probably decent developmentally because it probably means he has to play point more. That's why Dallas is not going to be good next year, by the way. I think Rookie of the Year got interesting because Cooper Flag is going to be a heavy favorite. Everybody knows the name. He's the number one pick. That's how it goes. We'll get there later, like later in a few months. The number one pick wins Rookie of the Year. That's how this thing goes. But the number one pick is out of position. The number two pick, Dylan Harper, in all likelihood, goes to the Spurs, where he's going to be behind Aaron Fox and behind Steph Castle, or the chip that ignites the big trade that sets off everything for the summer. But there's a possibility without a trade that the top two picks are kind of like not in an optimized spot for a Rookie of the Year competition. So from a betting standpoint, I think that's interesting. From an NBA future big picture standpoint, I'm a lot more intrigued by the outcome of the number 2 and number 3 picks yesterday than number 1 pick. Spurs 2, Sixers 3. I kind of set up the Spurs scenario. Obviously, the idea of trading number 2, they've got number 14 as well. They've got Steph Castle, or they have Fox. They have Harrison Barnes as just kind of like fodder salary, or Keldon Johnson. There are a lot of options there. That sets up for a possible Giannis trade, combining a bunch of stuff. It sets up for maybe we move on from Fox and we go ahead with Harper and Castle and Wemby. Maybe we go young on that team. I doubt it, but I think it'd be interesting. I'm intrigued by Philadelphia, Matt. The East next year is not looking great. Giannis probably goes west in a trade. That's where the most likely scenarios are. Houston, San Antonio, that's the teams where people are talking is west. The Celtics might have just lost Jason Tatum for the entire season if the Achilles diagnosis ends up correct. The Cavs look fraudulent in the playoffs this year. The East looks open. Philadelphia has Joel Embiid, possibly maybe healthy. Paul George, possibly maybe healthy. Tyrese Maxey, Jared McCain, who would have been Rookie of the Year had he played more. And now they got the number 3 pick, which either could be maybe an Ace Bailey, don't love him, but shooter, they need shooters. Maybe VJ Edgecombe, 3D wing. That fits pretty well on a team like that. Maybe you trade that for a different player. Philly badly needed bodies this year. Just somebody who can play. Number 3 picks can play. That's out of thin air. They would have lost that pick. Here's a bet for you, Matt. You texted last night, or maybe this morning, DraftKings now has odds up from title futures next year. I'm putting it into the app. 45-1 Philadelphia 76ers title futures, because I think the East is wide open looking right now. And I understand Embiid and PG probably just won't be healthy or do the thing. But if they do, that's a team that could be like the juggernaut number 1 in a very weak East that just got handed a very valuable asset.
No thanks. You have fun with the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid. Also, when does a rookie make a decisive difference in a team's title odds if they're not? I mean, even like Victor, like LeBron didn't make the playoffs in his first year. So like I can't get there. I understand the thought process on 45-1. You should like the 45-1 regardless if you're just going to not hand wave, but if you're going to move past the injury stuff, you're going to be like, well, and then that's fine. But I'm not going to move past it. Like I'm not moving past Embiid and PG. That is not we like the futures. We enjoy future betting. So it's like, I don't mind the tying your money up for a year because we love doing this and it's like really fun. And when you hit, it's amazing, but I'm definitely not tying up my money for a year on Joel Embiid, Paul George. There's no possible freaking way. I will say you kind of brushed past this, but you didn't really address this. Look, are we sure Cooper Flag winds up in Dallas?
I mean, I think yes. I think that even though I'm probably not on the high end of Cooper Flag outcomes by compared to like the draft world, you don't trade that. Like, I understand that like we don't know what Nico's going to do. I understand all the jokes. It's fun. We'll all get our jokes off. Who knows? Maybe Nico won't even draft Cooper Flag. Maybe he'll take Ace Bailey number 1. Like it's possible. We have no idea what Nico's going to do. Like he might have coffee with the Lakers and Rob Pelinka and do whatever. I get it. We get all the jokes. You don't trade Cooper Flag and like on a rookie number 1 scale, number 1 pick contract with all the contract stuff, all the CBA and everything. You don't trade that. They're not trading that.
They will absolutely call Milwaukee. This is a win. You can't go halfway here. You just said, we want to win now. We don't care about the future. We want to win now.
They're not going to win now. They
don't,
lost
they
Kyrie
think they
and
are.
they got 50 games
You're
of
doing
Davis.
the thing again where you're like, well, rationally they can't. And it's like, they are not you, my man. I guarantee you Nico Harrison is not you. They are absolutely going to call Milwaukee. And if Milwaukee sends Giannis for Gafford, whatever other salary filler they got to get there, they will absolutely consider that trade because they can win right now. They will absolutely consider
They're not
that.
going to win right now. In Milwaukee, if Milwaukee gets a call and is offered Cooper Flag for Giannis, they should instantly accept the deal.
Yeah, they should.
They're not going to get it.
That conversation will be had. I will absolutely guarantee you they will consider it. Like, yes, the most likely outcome is they keep Flag. That's the rational thing here. But I will say that you can't halfway, if your statement is, we traded Luka because we want to win a championship now. And you trade him for Anthony Davis? You do not consider the future. You don't care.
You did that and then missed the playoffs, and then Kyrie Irving tore his ACL. Like, things have changed since then.
No, they haven't.
I understand. I understand Nico is Nico, and we're all gonna just imagine all the dumbest possible things he can do, and we're going to. It's fun.
No, this is not imagining, Brandon. This is what he has said. These are things he's on the record about.
I understand.
My counter here is actually, like, if you want to look at a team, you should at least look at Dallas. Because if they get Giannis and they've got AD, even with Kyrie on the shelf.
No, I will bet Joel Embiid and Paul George 100 times before I bet Dallas in that team for next year. Other little things that might end up mattering. Houston ends up getting the number 10 pick from the Suns. They could have lost out on that. The number 10 pick, Houston, that's the most likely Giannis destination, so that matters, keeping a top 10 pick. Oklahoma City did not get the Philadelphia pick, so that sucks for them. That actually is a pretty big loss. They could have got number 7. Instead, they get next year's Philly pick, which could end up being like 20th or 25th if Philly stays healthy and is good. It's a huge drop. They did get number 15 from Miami, but that's one less Sam Presti asset in the deal. We know Oklahoma City and Houston are the teams that have been rumored so far for Giannis possibly. Miami owed its pick to Oklahoma City. If Miami had just missed the playoffs this year rather than, hooray, we made the 10 seed and got demolished by the Cavs, they're the 11 spot, the spot that moved up for Cooper Flag. Also, Chicago Bulls were a coin flip for the 11th spot and lost the coin flip to the Mavs, so the Mavs moved up and the Bulls picked 11th instead. So hooray for that. You mentioned your Wizards. Obviously, they're a loser here. I will point out the Wizards got the Grizzlies pick this year, so the Wizards unfortunately dropped from 2 to 6 in lottery odds. The Grizzlies pick really should have been like 27th or something, and they got number 18 out of it by kind of what weird happened with the Grizzlies at the end of the year. It's not making up for not getting a lottery pick, but it does kind of even things out, I think. So some other just little winners and losers. Houston and OKC, I think, will matter this summer when we start doing the trade machine stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what OKC does, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out. Okay, let's talk about some NBA playoffs and get into some series stuff. Pacers up 3-1 on the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell, we're recording this again, 1 o'clock the day of. So this is a very short shelf life, so I want to keep this one short. Donovan went through shoot around. He was on the court. I'm at this point, like, if you were like, hey, I'm giving you $100, you have to bet even odds that Donovan plays or he doesn't. I bet he plays, but again, I have no idea. The same thing I said yesterday. If Donovan plays, I'm on the Cavs. If he doesn't, I'm sitting out. That's where I'm at on this. If they do win this game, because obviously they have to win or that's done, what do you think happens here? How live do you think the Cavs are if they can get out of game 5 and get this to 3-2?
I want to bet the Cavs right now, but can't because I cannot get my numbers there. I have the Cavs without Donovan like 17% to win the series. They're more like plus 275, so just nowhere close in value. I want to bet the Cavs to win the East because now that the Celtics appear to be possibly dead, if the Cavs could come back and win the series, now I get the Cavs against the Knicks and not the Celtics next round. I want that. I think that I'm not betting it. I'm not betting the Cavs right now. I am willing to take game 5 of data and say, okay, I'm going to watch. Does Donovan look healthy? Do the Cavs look good? Because going into game 4, I really liked the Cavs in the series. I thought the Pacers were in huge trouble. And then everything went awry, and Donovan got hurt. I'm not so worried about the everything awry, but 3-1 with Donovan hurt is a bigger deal. The Cavs are favored at home in game 5. They're assumed to win this game. If they do win the game, I don't think I'm losing enough value on what's already priced in as a likely win, but the information I'm gaining as a better on Donovan, on how he looks, on how the Cavs look, on how Halliburton looks, who I'm still suspicious of injury-wise, Turner as well. I'm going to gain more information than I lose in value. I might invest in the Cavs after a game 5 win if things look good. I'm willing to sacrifice a little value here and get that information before I try something with them.
I think that's great. I think it's great that you're actually like not trying to go all in and being like, the Cavs are the better team. I'm betting them now. If I'm going to bet them this way, I want to bet them the whole way. Because like your approach in that way is always so profitable, but like it's just really telling. I think smart that you're able to reveal like, no, like I need to know. I need proof of life. I think that's totally reasonable to do here. If Donovan is ruled in, I will probably bet them before this game to win the East, but it's going to be like little bit of tiny money. Like,
well, the problem, it's not even that I wouldn't be willing to invest. The odds are not pricing them as a 3-1 long shot with a star player injured. The odds are pricing them as like, man, this team is way better than Indiana and New York. If we could just get them a couple wins here, boy, would they be the favorite. That's kind of what I think. But if the odds are already pricing that, then there's not a lot of an edge there for me. So I may just have to kind of sit out and wait a little bit.
Yeah, and see, my numbers still have this as value. I've got this as lower than better than the market. So it's enough for me to go ahead and get in even, but not enough for me to go like the whole way. Sure. Even if they win this game, I've still only got them up to 40% to win the series. So it's like, it's tough sledding, but they need to win this series or they win this game in order for it to happen. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, win or lose. Nuggets are tied with the Thunder 2-2. I don't agree with it, but give your take on what the series is.
I mean, yeah, I think that this is the NBA Finals. And I think that as you watch tonight, game 5 of a pivotal 2-2 matchup, I think this is like suddenly the biggest game of the NBA season. Because if Denver wins and shocks everyone, well, we kind of think, oh, Oklahoma City gets back on track and, they'll be fine. Oklahoma City is even odds right now to win the title because the path is setting up of just like obliterating all options in the field. Injuries, top teams, whatever. And just like we've seen that happen in recent years. We've seen a bunch of good teams and then there's one left standing. Oklahoma City has not really looked that good this series, but they're healthy. They are healthy. They're the one good team that we know is good and is also healthy and got to rest a lot before coming into the playoffs. I still think that they're overpriced in the series, but if they win game 5 and are up 3-2 with 2 shots to close out and suddenly the path is open, it looks great. I want, as a futures bettor, I want Oklahoma City to lose tonight for 2 reasons. Number 1, so I can bet on them to win the title. Because after they lose tonight, then I got 2 shots to win. Then I'm the big favorite again. But they have to price in 1 game away from elimination. Also, I already bet Denver to win the series. I think Denver win the series before game 5 is the right bet. So you can check the app for my bets. We talked about that yesterday. I think Denver is very live to win this series, much more than the books are letting on. What I'm curious with you, Matt, is if Denver does win the series, they took 7 games to get through the Clippers. Presumably, they might take 7 to get through the Thunder here. They would have home court next round, but that's a tired team. That was a tired team all year with an interim coach. Can they keep going 2 more rounds? Can Denver actually win a title? Like 4 days ago, you had Denver last of 8 teams in possible title odds. Things have changed. You're allowed to shift your opinion. How far from 8th are they? Can they win the title?
Nope. I would still have them 8th.
You'd still have them 8th?
No, I can't have them 8th because the Celtics are down 3-1 without Tatum. So that has to change things. I would not have them. I'll say this. I would have them 3rd in the West. They are not. I will bet Wolves. If Minnesota wraps this up and Denver gets to play not Warriors and Denver gets out, then they're not. I don't think.
So give me in 30 seconds because we'll get to the preview. But if we got Nuggets Wolves, we know we got the series last. We know the Wolves won the series. but it looked for all the world like the Wolves had the series. Then it looked for all the world like the Nuggets had the series and Game 7, and then they did. Like, that one went easily both ways. Towns is gone now. The Wolves are a little different this year. What would you look for that's different this year than last year's series in a rivalry we know pretty well right now?
It's worse. They went 0-4 versus the Wolves, and it was infuriating to them. They are downtrodden against that team. Like, they know there's a mental edge here for Minnesota that's significant. If they face the Nuggets, they know they can beat this team. They are so comfortable against them. You can argue, like, you could say, I still think they're worse with Julius Randle than Cat. And that's probably where I would lean. But the way that the Wolves are worse is not compensated by the way that the Wolves are better this season, because their offense is a lot better than last year's. Not like hugely, but a significant amount.
Yeah, significant.
And then on top of it, Denver's worse. Denver's worse defensively. Denver's worse offensively. Denver has less depth than last year. Like, KCP makes a huge difference here in some of the lineup combos. And KCP was bad in that series last year. That will be Nuggets fans' reaction. They're going to be like, but KCP was really bad in that series. But Christian Brown wasn't much better, and he's not a good matchup for Ant. They don't have one. They do not have a matchup. And they don't have a matchup, really. Julius is about as good of a player as you can have to go against Gordon. Like, that's a very good matchup in terms of size, strength, mobility, and flexibility on both sides of the floor. They've got wings. Chris Dunn, I said it. I was like, Chris Dunn can't bother Jamal Murray, and he was great in that series by the end of it. Honestly, Jamal has done a phenomenal job versus Lou Dort in this series. Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso. He's done a really great job. You know who he doesn't do a good job against? Jade McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Those guys are designed in a lab if you were building Jamal Murray killers. And if you cut off the two-man game, now it's post-ups. Now you get to send help. Now you get to truncate the lane. You've got the best rim protector, Rudy Gobert, who has won matchups versus Jokic. Jokic, who is gassed and having his worst playoffs that I have ever seen. All of that, I love. I will bet Wolves if they get out of the series.
Is there... I hear everything you just said. I'm going to have to dig into the matchup more before I'm willing to bet Wolves Nuggets. Is there a chance that this whole thing is set up right now, that this is... Right now, Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets are a one-time champion that got a lot of bounces, that got a very lucky draw. They beat all the teams they needed to, but they got a lucky draw. That's happened with many champions. That's probably happening again now. Is there a world where Jokic drags this team to another title that he is playing so poorly right now because the Thunder defense is that good, and now he suddenly emerges 3-time MVP, 5-time top 2 MVP in a row, 2 rings, 2 finals MVP, 2 playoff MVP in my opinion. I think that pushes him better than Hakeem Olajuwon. I think that puts him into like Shaq, Tim Duncan tier, like fringe top 10, if what's happening right now, while we don't quite realize it, is this, not 2 years ago, this is the Jokic crowning achievement year. He does the MVP thing. He takes down Shea. He beats the arch rival Timberwolves, the one team they can't get past, and then locks into not the Celtics or Cavs in the finals. Can you envision that Jokic world and just like legacy big picture? How high does that move him up in your ranks?
I'll say this. We don't need to talk about the legacy thing. And the reason we don't need to talk about it is like, you're going to think that my takes are ridiculous. Like, I know that you're going to think that my takes on the top 10 are going to be stupid.
That's why I want to hear them though. It's fun.
I don't want it because I don't like being insulted because it makes me mad. So I don't want, and this is a betting podcast. I will just say that if Jokic gets a second title, it does dramatically shift the conversation because there are so few multi-time winners. KG has one title. Like, you go up and down. And there's only one title for so many of these guys. And it just, when you win 2 as finals MVP alongside the hardware, it does dramatically change things. The problem I think I have with the argument, you're like, is there a chance? There's a chance that Jokic comes out of the series and then is incredible versus the Wolves. But then all the stuff that you said about this being a one-man team, that comes back because the other Nuggets have carried him for 2 rounds. That to me is the problem here, is like the other Nuggets are not good enough to get him through 3.
That's fair. I will say, just to kind of wrap this and move on to our series for tonight, I'm not going to bet it right now. I am eyeing Jokic finals MVP. It's 18-1 at BetMGM. That's 5.3%. I have the Nuggets title odds right now around 15 to 18%. I know that makes me high. I'm already invested on them to win the series. I think I'm going to wait past game 5. And I understand if Denver wins that game, I lose a lot of value. But I'm already invested in Denver winning the series, so I can already win some value back that way. I think that this Jokic thing is on the table, partly to transition us, because the Wolves are up 3-1 on the Warriors. I'm not really convinced the Wolves are playing all that well against the Warriors. You have been skeptical on the Warriors for a lot of good reasons. Steph is out. Are you impressed by the Wolves this series?
No, I think that here's the key, though, is they're not impressive from a matchup standpoint because the Warriors are built, designed, and put on this earth to make teams look crappy. We've seen these teams before, Brandon, where it's like the other team didn't really. It wasn't that that team looked great. It was just that they are having an uncanny ability to make the other team suck, and that's who the Warriors are. So, like, this makes me love the Wolves because the market's gonna react, I think, the way that you are with the suggestion of like, but the Wolves didn't play well. I don't think that I think you can point to not last year because the Boston Celtics had an incredible run in terms of like who they faced and how much better they were on top of it. But I think you can look at a lot of these, like the Nuggets went 6 games with the Phoenix Suns, right? In retrospect, it's like you went 6 games with the Suns. Like the Suns were in that series for a brief moment. It was 2-2 because like certain things happen and you don't.
Yeah, certain things. Devin Booker happened. Devin Booker shot like 1,000% for the series.
So good. He was so amazing for those 2 games. And there have been other series. So, like, I've mentioned this the other day. 2008 Celtics, right? Dominant team. Really one of, like, from a profile, one of the better champions that we've had. 7 games versus the Hawks. Like, this happens.
In round one. In round one.
Yeah. I'm not overreacting to this Wolves-Warriors series. I'm actually looking at it as a benefit that if they can actually get this done, because I thought they were losing game 4 and this was going to at least 6 and then Steph's coming back. And maybe they'll lose game 5 because it would be a very Minnesota Timberwolves thing to do. That you did it. You swept both games in the Bay. All you got to do is win a home game without Steph. And like Jimmy Butler's doing exactly what I always say he does. He has one awesome game and then vanishes into the ether. And then no one talks about it. Nobody.
He was sick. Draymond said he was sick. He doesn't want to have to go back to Minnesota and play game 5 without his buddy Steph by. He might just have to sit this one out. It would be a shame, such a shame to get eliminated by the Timberwolves in Minnesota. What if he gets even sicker and has to sit it out, man?
I love this because Brandon's like a wrestling heel where he just turns out of nowhere because he's been a Jimmy Butler guy for years. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not saying the Warriors are dead yet because to me this is the entire thing. Is I'm like it doesn't like it's like well surely the Warriors aren't going to win. It doesn't make any logical sense that the Warriors are going to win in Minnesota in Game 5 to force a Game 6. Doesn't make any sense that the Mavericks would win the lottery after trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers. But here we are. So we'll see what happens. I want to address Wolves once we get through this series. We could talk. I will give my thoughts on the Wolves and future possibilities. I need to see them get out of this trap that they are in because it is quicksand. And I thought Game 4 was a really impressive performance for them to be like, no, we're better. Sit down. I thought was a really impressive performance because I was pretty confident, especially first half. I was like, yep, Warriors are going to steal this game. Here it comes. Yeah. And the second half, the Wolves were just like, you don't have Steph. You don't have enough. I don't expect Steph back for Game 5. If he forces it, he's going to be really hampered, man. Chris Paul had a hamstring injury in the 2015 first round versus the Spurs. He toughed it out and hit a game winner over them with a bad hamstring. The next game, he was toast. Like, just did not have it. If they try and rush Steph back, you're not getting Steph. Like, there's honestly no point in him playing because you need good Steph in order to beat this team. So it's like, find a way to win Game 5. Right. Get it back to Golden State, 2 days rest, then play Steph.
And the Warriors don't just want to win Game 5. The Warriors still think they can win a championship or like make the finals. So you can't just get Game 5 and like eke out 50% Steph at the cost of the rest of Steph the rest of the postseason. Like you have to just find a way. I think they can find a way. I frankly, I think books are slightly overconfident in the Wolves on the series. It's like a minus 5,000 as though it's over right now. It's the Timberwolves. It's Minnesota. Like nihilist Brandon Minnesota fans like, hold on. Can we get zeros on the clock and actually move on the series before we write this in ink over there?
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
things could happen. I show a tiny amount of value on the Warriors. I'm not betting it because it's like such a long shot number. And I do think it's so. I think the thing we're worried about, rightfully so, of like Minnesota, the youngish team with at least Ant, and like, okay, they think the job's done. They come out in game 5. I think that's what game 4 was. I think they thought the job was done. They came out, the defense was not good earlier, not locked in. They came out after halftime, their second half team. We'll get back to the halftime thing in a bit. And then they blew the doors off. Take me home, Warriors, third quarter. Goodbye. RIP. It's over. Like 39-17. And that was basically the end of that. So I think that was likely the Timberwolves kind of getting over the last hurdle in the series, but you still got to close out a team. You still got to get the job done. Speaking of getting the job done, the Knicks got the job done. They're up 3-1 on the Celtics. The NBA lottery happened last night. 1.8%. The Knicks beat a good team. That's the 1.8% result. They finally did it. They finally beat and earned a win over a good team for the first time all season. Three. They won 2 coin flips after the 6 coin flips against Detroit, after the blowout, terrible loss to Boston. They finally deservedly beat a team last night for the first time all postseason. They deserved a win over a playoff team. I'm applauding. I'm not going to do it loud because it's bad for the microphone. Good job, New York fans. You did it. You beat a team fair and square without the help of the refs, and you earned a victory. I'm so proud of you. 1.8% lottery odds.
Generational hater. Just a generational hater. The big story obviously is Jason Tatum. We'll talk about him in a second because I want to there's a lot of stuff we got to get into with that. I will say it's important that you remember as a basketball fan and as a bettor that the Knicks were up by, I think, 7 when
they're up 7. Tatum slips up 7. They get the steal and the dunk to go up 9. 3 minutes left. The Knicks were going to win the game in all likelihood. The Knicks deserved to win the game. The Tatum injury did not affect that. That is important to remember.
I think the reason you and I disagree on this is that you're right that the Knicks. I think you're right. The Knicks won 2 coin flips. You're down 20. You shouldn't win both of those. Right?
You shouldn't win either one. You're down 20. They're at 98%.
No. Well, okay. I wanted to talk to you about because I actually think this is a really interesting question. What does being up 20 mean to you? Because I get that your win probability when up 20 is going to be high, right? I get it. But you don't get a win for being up 20. And we see 20-point comebacks all the time in the NBA. So an expected win probability, obviously, if you're a Boston bettor and you had those games, or if you if you're like us and had Celtics in 5, yes, it burns. It sucks. But I think also there's a critical calculation that has to be adjusted here, which is that the Celtics margin for error was not as high as we thought it was because they allowed them to come back from 20 and lose a coin flip. They should be coin flip proof because of how much better we both thought they were than this Knicks team.
Yeah, I mean, I do looking at the stats through 4 games. You know me, I'm going to start at the 4 factors. 4 factors are pretty even on the series. For a series that I keep saying Boston's the better team through 3 games, and then slightly the worst team in a deserving Knicks game 4 win, that should reflect in the stats as Boston way better. New York got lucky in some chances. That's not what the stats say. The stats are should be a 2-2 series. It's pretty close right now. That's certainly not how I feel about this series. I'm no, it should be 3-1 Boston. They dominated 3 games and screwed around for the 4th quarter, and 2 of them lost both of them instead. I think that the process of, we've watched a lot of Knicks games this year against top teams. We had 10 games in the regular season against Boston, Cleveland, Oklahoma City. They went 0-10. I think they're only really competitive in one of them, a Boston loss near the end of the season. Yep. They going down 20 matters. It does not win you the game. It does not count in the standings. It does not do anything for the 3-1 Knicks lead. Boston is very likely done now. It matters toward the same data of 10 regular season games against that level of team, plus now 3 more games until game 4 that kept saying over and over and over again, New York cannot hang with this top level of team. To me, yes, Boston was vulnerable. Like the should have shot twos versus threes thing. I get it. I get the math. Frankly, that's what happened yesterday. They basically, both teams shot about the same percentage on threes and twos. New York just took like 20 more twos, and then you shoot higher on twos than threes because that's how the percentages go. And they won the game because they made a lot of easier shots in the game. Like the New York won the math game yesterday, the thing they were not supposed to be able to do. To me, a thing that I was aware of, but I think didn't give enough credit to, which is now the thing that gives them near drawing dead to win the series, is the attrition factor. We knew going into the playoffs, Porzingis hasn't really totally looked right. Horford's pretty old. Horford and Drew haven't been that great this year. They definitely look a little worse. Jalen's taking shots in his knee. Jason Tatum gets hurt the first game of the playoffs. And we're like, man, I don't know. He's going to miss some time. He misses game 2 of the playoffs. That's 5 of the 6. That's everybody except Derek White that is injured. And I'm not in any way insinuating like, oh, we should have seen the Jason Tatum injury coming. Like, that sucks. It's an Achilles. It just happened out of nowhere. Attrition stuff adds up. And the fact that Porzingis isn't any good and has to only play 14 minutes a game and do nothing means now Al Horford has to do more. Al Horford's playing more, but not really contributing much. So now Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have to carry more of the load. Like, that stuff all adds up. And the fact that Jason Tatum has played literally more games than anybody over the last 5 years because of the deep playoff runs and the Olympics and his best ability, his availability, he never misses games. That's all great, but that all added a lot of mileage. Like, you should not, as a bettor, have to project, will this player tear his Achilles? If that's even what happened. Hopefully it's not what happened. We'll talk about it. We're not projecting that. But, like, that is part of the risk factor of all of these injuries and attrition adding up. Like, the way that, Matt, you and I have talked about Knicks teams under Tibbs as, well, you know, you never know by the end of the series who will be left on this team, because that's Tibbs. His guys are ground into dust, and that's how this is going to go. We talk about that. We consider that as a risk. I think for me, I didn't consider that enough of a risk, and or along with that, I did not take the Knicks seriously because of how mediocre I thought they were against the Pistons as a pretty 50-50 coin flip. So my fraudulent Knicks take, plus thinking that the Celtics were just so much better, even though they did have some of the, like, the warning signs were there. I kept never betting them to win the title because I was like, I don't know, that's a whole month of games away. I did not expect a big Tatum injury. That's not a thing we expected or wanted. I think that was a real warning sign that had been adding up and should have maybe made me more hesitant to bet so confidently in Boston futures here.
So, a couple things. I was going to bet Celtics after this game had they lost. I expected, like, I bet Knicks last night, got home on that. I like the Knicks in this game because I just won. This is a reminder, it's very hard to win 2 games on the road after the first round. These teams are good. It's hard to beat a team at home twice in a row in the playoffs. That's hard. I would have bet the Celtics to come back from 3-1. I think they would have been perfectly live here. I would have been on this podcast today talking about they should have won. They should have lost one at home. They should have lost one on the road. It should be 2-2. It shouldn't be 3-1. The Celtics are live because they can still win 2 out of 3, no problem. Like, there's no issue. I have zero question about their ability to win to win 3 in a row versus the Knicks, and they would have won 2 out of 3 had they split. So I would have been on here, and Tatum obviously changes it. You did not bet the Boston Celtics. I did in every possible combination imaginable because I kept being like, you know, like the Thunder, this Western Conference, like the Thunder have a lot of matchup problems. Like the Nuggets can beat them, the Wolves can beat them, and I still kind of think that that's true here as we sit here. The problem is like now obviously Thunder are way more likely given their situation relative to Cleveland and Boston. We talked about Cleveland. We'll talk about them more tomorrow, depending on what happens. I do think that the Knicks deserve credit because you mentioned but they were 0-10 and got killed by every good team, every elite team, murdered them. Tibbs, to his credit, this is why I was with you. Like the series preview, I was like, my numbers think that this is really a bad number for the Knicks. And because I am always like, hey, you could have been right and profitable, but you're a moron, didn't trust it, and instead went the other way. And what happened was Tibbs is not played like he did in the regular season. They're switching more. Like, they are doing the things that you have to do. And you mentioned, like, I said all year, I was like, I'm worried about two guys in the playoffs. I'm worried about Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. The numbers with Porzingis were soft. Drew was an outlier from his shooting perspective last year, and Drew has not looked the same this year. And, like, it's not so. We haven't had a repeat winner since 2018. It's been 7 years since we have had a repeat winner. And if the Celtics do not come back to win the series and do not find a way, likely without Tatum, then it's going to be 8. And that to me, I think I am at the point of like, man, with how much the regular season has taken out of these guys and the amount of minutes and games. And I also, as a very small note, I go back to COVID with a lot of this and the short truncated schedule in those 2 years. That was a way more brutal than I think that we realize at this point. But yeah, like, whoever wins the title, I'm not going to look to bet next year, no matter how good they are. I'll wait. Thanks. So how do we reallocate? Well, let's talk about the Tatum thing. I'll just be real clear. If this is the Achilles, if he is out for more than if he's out for a year, Boston has to, like, there was a lot of rumors that Boston was going to make moves this summer anyway, that they were going to have to address the luxury tax. Like, it's just like, this has been a thing floating around the league, and I'm not the only one that's heard it. It's been reported. Like, Boston was going to have to examine Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford, etc. Like, there was going to have to be, because of the CBA, there were going to be changes anyway.
Here's the reason. Let me give you the numbers. They're right now, their cap next year is $226 million, which is way over the cap, and that is without Al Horford, who's expiring. So Al Horford possibly retires. Maybe he doesn't want to go out this way, comes back another cheapish contract, but $226 million. Tatum is owed $54.1 million next year. If this is an Achilles, which has to be the thing we're assuming for right now, that probably means he doesn't play next year. That's $54 million of wasted cap space. And it's not just $54 million because of all like the repeater tax and the over luxury tax and all that. Like, that's multiplying. Jaylen Brown, $53 million. We can talk at a different time about the value of that contract, but you know what I think. Tatum loses his age 27 season in that scenario, likely his best year. Age 27 is a peak of your prime. Drew Holiday, $32 million. Porzingis, $31 million. One of those dudes or both of them are not on this roster next year. Al Horford might not be on the roster. Jason Tatum is effectively not on the roster because he can't play if he has a torn Achilles. So the Celtics team that we just watched for 2 years be the Celtics. And frankly, the Celtics that we've watched for like almost a decade now be the Celtics. I think this is the end of this Celtics regime. That does not mean the Celtics are over. We've seen Brad Stevens and the team like remake things. We saw them bring in Drew and Porzingis and Derek White and remake on the fly. Al Horford, they basically got for free. But next year, if Tatum is out and you're trading Drew or Porzingis, or quite frankly, they're just not that great anymore compared to what they've been, the team is Jaylen Brown and Derek White. That's the team next year with not a lot of depth because that's the whole point. They haven't had depth. They're probably going to get some back in whatever deal they do, a Holiday deal or Porzingis deal. But the Celtics go from this like best 5-man title lineup ever, the best 5th starter on the title team, like all the stuff we said, they were that. I think that's the past now. They are now trying to win literally one-handed with Jaylen Brown and Derek White and nothing else. And I think it's ridiculous that they are 5-point favorites in a game 5 after a franchise gut punch move. And I think that it just tells me how little I think of the Knicks, that they're 5-point underdogs to a team that we think Tatum's not playing for with all these other injuries too.
Well, hang on. You think that they shouldn't be 5-point underdogs. The market thinks that they should be 5-point underdogs. So that means the market thinks that the Knicks are the team that you've described them as. But if you don't agree with that number, doesn't that mean you think the Knicks are actually better than the market?
No, I'm telling you, I think it is embarrassing for the Knicks that they're 5-point underdogs to a team missing Jason Tatum, presumably in game 5.
I'll also say that Celtics home court advantage has been vastly overstated in the market for multiple seasons. Whatever they're using to make the Celtics home court advantage. Remember we did that in the Heat games where we were like, why is Boston minus 9.5 to a team they're down 3-1 to?
Well, they've been great on the road. And the whole thing is they shoot a billion threes. And it turns out that works in whatever arena you need to shoot in. And it's not like home court advantage as much as anything is getting calls from refs. And the Celtics are last in free throws And that's not as much of a thing when you shoot threes on like 3/5 of your shots.
Yeah. Okay. If Tatum comes out and he's done, and we can put the Celtics aside at that point, I'll say this. I've said all year, I'm like, honestly, like they don't like their threes is why they win. Tatum's great, but the threes are why they win. And I stand by that analysis. What I will say is the problem here is if Brown was not as limited, I would actually be like, I don't know that they're dead because of their ability to leverage. They can't leverage with where Brown's at right now. He can't create separation. He can't get past the first level of attack in order for him to leverage the defense and create those open threes. You got to be able to create those threes. And Tatum was amazing at doing that this year. That was his biggest contribution was he's so big, he's so powerful, he's so quick, he's so fast. You had to send help both in pick and roll situations, and he would screen and slip. Like Tatum's size and athleticism is really underrated because then he would slip and you have to send help underneath, or he's slipping to the rim with nobody there, and that's an easy catch for a layup or a dunk. So now there's less like this. The Knicks are just going to be able to switch everything, which is what they've done in the series, and stay home on everybody. It would be very funny if they overhelped anyway. It would be a very Tibbs thing if they overhelped anyway and got burned. But we'll get to that.
That's a one saving grace for me is at this point, any outcome other than the Knicks just taking care of business in Game 5 is the highest comedy for me. Like it's all we've reached the low point. It's only upside left for me now as the guy that's doubting that like anything the Knicks do other than just winning by 10 the next game and going on the next round is just chef's kiss wonderful for me to watch. Could they lose in Game 5 and then go home and take care of business Game 6? Sure. Could they go home to take care of business Game 6 like the Warriors did last round and then not take care of business in Game 6 and suddenly it's Game 7 and oops, the threes start to fall and oh my gosh, the Knicks are the team blowing the 3-1 lead to the non-Jason Tatum Celtics? No! I have the Knicks 93% to win the series. There's value on betting the Knicks by my number. I can't do it because I'm wearing a Celtics shirt because I lost 15 units on the Celtics and Jason Tatum. I can't do it, but it would be hilarious if it actually happened. And wouldn't it be funny if the Knicks and the Tibbs of all teams could do it? It could happen.
This part, by the way, I have 85%. So I don't think like
that's close to market. I think market's like 83 or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, actually, yeah, I'm actually against the market here in terms of like, I think it's not, but here's the problem is like, it's minus 525. I've got it minus 577 for Knicks. This is DK. The Celtics are plus 400. I make them plus 577. So the hold alone, because of how much money is on Boston, your hold is going to be too much to be able to bet on Boston. Like that's the problem. Right. The hold is incredible for Boston because everybody bet them to win the championship, including me. Does any part of you want to bet the Knicks to win the title just out of sheer spite of you being like, this team is fraudulent and I don't think they should be here and they should have lost to the Pistons and I want to protect myself? Does no part of you want to bet them to win the title?
Well, want to, yes, in a Matt Moore wants to bet things out of spite and protect my feelings sort of way. Yep. Will I? No. Will I recommend it? No, because it's a bad bet and an irresponsible bet and not one that I want my 200,000 app followers to be betting because it's a bad bet. Don't bet your money on the Knicks. I said before the series, I bet Celtics to win the series. I bet Celtics minus 1.5. That was the main bet. I bet them again multiple times. I literally said some quote of, if the Knicks win 3 games and take it to Game 7 or take the series, you can take my money. The Knicks took my money. I have no more money to give the Knicks.
I have no more money to give the Knicks. I will say this, that I was higher on New York with my numbers, and I should have listened. And I think I've learned a couple of lessons about at least trusting my what the numbers say a little bit more in terms of not being as aggressive with my reads. Which is like, that's me, not you. Like, you should always do that because your reads are better than mine. I make the Pacers like huge favorites versus them.
Wow.
Huge favorites. So we'll talk about that if we get there because I don't think the Cavs are dead yet. And the Knicks are going to have to actually do the thing. But it's going to be interesting to look at the East when we get through these series. Okay, let's do some best bets for Wednesday. First, I need to let you know, we mentioned at the top of the show, we're coming to you from our Tommy John home studios. And that's because great games start with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest. I hung out yesterday in my Tommy John Bubba Ray Dudley pants and my Tommy John t-shirt, and I was so comfortable. Like, my wife was coming through the dining room and was just like, you look about as comfortable as you could possibly be. And I was like, I'm living my best life. All the windows are open. It's 85 outside. I got breathable, comfortable clothes on. It's amazing. The underwear is absolutely incredible. You're going to love the briefs that you're going to get from Tommy John's. When you're truly comfortable, you do everything better. And that includes betting. If you love the Buckets podcast and you love our crew, you're going to love Tommy John. Get 25% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/buckets. That's 25% off at TommyJohn.com/buckets. Okay? 2 games in the association. The New York Knicks, as you mentioned, are 4.5-point underdogs to the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum, presumably. If Tatum plays, this goes back up to what? Like 8? 9?
I mean, what was it before? It was like double digits in the first couple games, wasn't it?
It was. How much has that changed since we got there? So game 2 was Celtics minus 10.5.
Yeah, I think we probably don't get to double digits because I have to imagine if Tatum plays, it's still a somewhat version of Tatum are we getting? So maybe we get somewhere in the middle, maybe like 8.5-ish.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I think 8.5 is right. This did open 3. Boston has taken money, and now it's 4.5. That shows you what the market thinks of your New York Knickerbockers. Totals 207.5. Meanwhile, with the Warriors trying to keep their season alive, they're an 11.5-point dog to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Total in that one's up to 203.5. Barn burner expected after the Wolves got their offense right. Warriors are plus 475 on the money line. Brandon, what are your bets for Wednesday in the NBA playoffs?
Yeah, I'll just say up front on these. These are not my strongest best bets of the round. I like these bets, but these are probably half unit plays. Just trying to get some picks out here that I like. In the first game, give me Porzingis under 24.5 points, rebounds, assists, and Jaylen Brown over 3.5 turnovers. And then from the Warriors, we'll take a Kuminga points escalator, 20, 25, and a 30. I'll tell you the odds when we get there. And a Kevon Looney rebounds escalator. Perfect way to wrap up a Warriors season. 10, 13, and 15 rebounds. And again, light on these, but I do like them.
All right. I'm going to be on. I am going back to Naz Reid over. I don't care how many times I lose this. He's getting such good looks. He's been so good for them. I'm going to Naz Reid over again. I'm going to play Jaden McDaniel threes over. And the real quick cap on that is that Jaden's much better at home. So I just like betting Jaden McDaniels over on threes at home. He tends to make a fair amount of them. They're going to have to pack the paint to continue to try and get Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle shut down. The Warriors are not going to be able to close out the way they want to or play as much switch. They got to help. The Wolves offense is starting to finally buck loose a little bit as they did in game 4. They're going to have to adjust to that and try and slow down the interior stuff, which means Jaden McDaniels is going to have more wide open opportunities in the corner. So I'll take Jaden McDaniel threes over. I'm going to take the Wolves team total over. I actually think that there's a good chance that they're able to score easier because they really did kind of figure out some stuff. Ant got going in game 4. And especially if you think that if Minnesota's up double digits in the second half, I think the Golden State might pack it in and just be like,
yeah, I think so.
Enough stuff, couldn't get it done, too demoralizing, not gonna I don't know that they have the fight in them to get this done.
I think it's possible that could just be from the start also. Like if they know internally Steph ain't coming back anytime soon and Jimmy's not healthy either, and like we know we had our home games and it didn't happen, it's possible we just get that from the start.
Yeah. I'm also on Knicks plus 4.5. If Tatum's out, of course. This is too much of a market reaction. I make it Knicks plus 3. I have them. So I downgraded them. So here's what I did. I downgraded them 3 points for Tatum. That's where I've got him estimated. If you want to say that it should be 4.5 or 5 for Tatum, I don't mind. But either way, it's like if the numbers that I ignored were like the Knicks early in the series, there's no way that I'm not going to like it more here without Tatum, because this number is a little ridiculous, given that New York has so many advantages and Tatum is that significantly important to the spread. And I'll give you an indication. I have downgraded the Celtics more for Tatum than I did for Steph, and it wasn't a matter of like who's better. Jason Tatum is like Steph Curry is obviously a better player than Jason Tatum, right? Like Steph's freaking amazing. However, Tatum is an elite defender, and that's pivotal to Boston's pro success. Like, of all the players that they could lose, like if we removed the offensive side and we are like, hey, you're going to lose one player just on the defensive side, who are you going to lose? I would honestly say Jason Tatum is the most important player. He's more important than Horford. He's more important. White's amazing, but he's more important than White. He's more important than Drew. Having those big forwards, especially versus New York, that's killer. Like, look at their options of who they got coming off. Like, think about the lineups now. Because without Tatum, it's Pritchard, Hauser, if he's healthy, Cornette, maybe more in 3 big lineups. Like, there's no forward because Tatum's a tank. And so that really hurts them there. And with Steph, I was like, well, the Warriors defense is still going to be good, which it was. So I kind of stand by those projections. And yeah, so anyway, I've got Knicks +3. The open was their correct line. The market thinks that this should be higher. I disagree. I think Knicks +3 and the money line will be where I'm at for game 5.
Okay, so you are playing the money line. I was going to ask Matt Mitchell rule.
Yeah, I'm playing the Matt Mitchell rule, especially into a possession. I have to. If I make this 3, I have to, like, I've got to be on it, because it's like if I think they're going to cover the 3, then they're within inside of a possession. I've got to play the money line as well. I do appreciate that, despite how much stress and unpleasantness the series has caused you, you found comfort by playing Jaylen Brown over 3.5 turnovers.
I thought you'd appreciate that. That I was like, I got to find some from this game. What's the angle? Oh, I know. Jaylen Brown turnovers. Back to just a comfortable pick for me. Jaylen Brown turnovers, because he's got to have to do a lot more stuff with no Jason Tatum. So it kind of makes sense. If you throw out some of the April games the last 2 years where the Celtics are probably resting for the playoffs, in non-Tatum games, Jaylen Brown averages 3.5 turnovers. That's the line here, but we're getting +120 at Bet365. I have over 3.5 turnovers is 10 out of 12 in those games. So, sorry, not over. At least 3 turnovers in 10 out of 12 for Jaylen Brown. So at least 3. We just need one more than that. He's had 4 turnovers twice this series, 4 to 9 already this playoffs. The Jays have turned it over 29 times already this series. So between Tatum and Brown, 7+ turnovers a game. That was a big problem and is part of the reason that the Knicks are up 3-1. So Jaylen over 3.5 turnovers, a little comfort food for my Celtics on the way out. Porzingis under 24.5 points, rebounds, assists. I just don't think he has much to give right now. He's averaging 5 points, 4 rebounds, under an assist a game. He's playing under 18 minutes a game. His max PRA this round is 12. So we're getting double that number. Now, his best game of the playoffs was a 2010 game, the one game Tatum missed. So maybe there's just like, all right, put me out there for 34 minutes, boss. I'm ready. Tatum's out. I got to do the thing now. I just, that doesn't look like what I'm seeing from Porzingis out there. I don't think he has that to give right now. Because I'm playing this, I'll play it now before the Tatum news, because if Tatum is ruled back in, I think the line's already inflated a little bit because of presumed Tatum absence. So I think it would drop otherwise. So Brown over on turnovers, Porzingis under PRA 24.5.
Okay. In the late game, you like Kuminga on a points escalator. This is an interesting one. Tell me how you got here on 20 plus 160, 25 plus 500, 30 plus at +1,500.
Yeah. So Porzingis, Kuminga, we got lots of fun, like Scrabble type names in here. I think he's going to play. He's the one guy that's scoring for them efficiently right now. He should be starting. I think maybe they start him in game 5 because like you're just out of options. You got to try something at this point, but he effectively is playing starter minutes anyway. When he's played this season at least 25 minutes, that's 28 times now. He has a floor of 11 points. He's gone over his 17.5 points line, 18 out of 28. So I was like, okay, well, that's pretty good. We'll just take Kuminga over. I don't know if I need a Kuminga median. Like, Kuminga could just score 4 points. And I'm like, this guy, why did I bet on this guy doing good stuff? So I don't want a median. 17.5 is the line. 20 plus points is +160. So I only need one extra bucket to go from even odds to +160. In 25-minute games, he's averaging 19.9. So he's basically averaging 20. He's had at least 20 points, 13 of 28. So basically 50-50 in those minutes. So if we get the minutes, he's scoring 2s. He's getting to the line. I think he can get some points. I think he probably plays even if they lose and it gets ugly, I think Kuminga probably still plays and is getting his shots up. So it's really that 20 points plus 160. And then just the numbers seem too steep to me. So 25 points is 5-1, 30 points is 15-1. Again, these Warriors bets in particular are kind of like me thinking this is me knowingly falling into the trap of who's going to play minutes for the Warriors. I'm projecting, I think Kuminga and Looney are options that have looked pretty good the last couple of games. So I'm not betting medians because I might just be wrong about that. But if I'm right, I want to be right enough to make it worth my while. Looney, I'm so mad. I wanted Looney rebounds leader before the series. I've been on Looney rebounds, like put him in. The Warriors can dominate on the offensive glass. You need Looney. I've seen him do it in lots of series. He's been pretty good for them the last couple of games. He has 7 offensive rebounds in 31 minutes on the court. They finally gave us a rebounds line for him, and it's 6.5. Come on, man. I've been waiting the whole series to bet Kevon Looney rebounds. Can you give me something over here? Like 3.5 or 4.5. We would have smashed the over. I can't tell you to bet over 6.5 because I put him at like 7 rebounds, but he might just not play enough to get there. If he does play enough, and if he's doing well on the offensive glass, maybe we get like that Gobert game from last round or just one of those Looney games where it's like, oh, Looney's getting an offensive rebound like every possession down the court and suddenly played 28 minutes tonight. So, again, skipping the median here. If it hits, it's going to hit pretty well. So 10 rebounds is plus 450 at Bet365. He's had 10 rebounds when he plays 14 minutes or more this season, 27%. So I want 14 minutes from Looney, Matt. 14. Can you give me 14 Looney minutes? And then I think we got like a 3-1 shot there. 13 rebounds is 15-1. 15 rebounds is 28-1. He's probably not going to do that. He's hit 13 twice this year. He hit 15 once. But again, if you got 10, and by the way, you can get multiple offensive rebounds on one possession, Kevon Looney, just Moses Malone the ball up a couple times and get the ball back and do it again and get another rebound. Just pad her stats a little bit. We'll see what we can do. So 10, 13, 15 rebounds at plus 450, 15-1, and 28-1. Those are my Warriors bets, best I could find.
I'm going to add one here because you got me thinking about Kerr's rotations and what he's doing. Trace Jackson Davis under 5.5 points. I think there's a very good chance that Trace is just out. They tried him in the like you steal game 1, he has 18, and it's like ooh. Look, we might have found something. He had 15 points in game 1. Ooh, 7 points in game 2. And then now he had 5 in this last game, and he was a minus 18, and he did not play. I don't mind if you're going to do the Kerr angle. Like, doesn't that basically parlay with my Looney stuff? Like, if you like Trace to not play, isn't Looney the one taking his minutes, or Kuminga, or like you might put some of the stuff together if you think this is where the rotation goes. Well, okay, so here's the thing I will say about Kuminga. The reason I will not tell you on that is Kerr might literally be like, if I'm going down, I'm not going down with this guy. Like,
that's why I like Looney. I'm going down with Looney.
I mean, look, Kevon's a guy that he's loved, and he's kept on. Like, I think he's a big reason they've kept him around.
100%.
Like how much, and like he believes and has trusted that guy. He's won championships with that guy. And Kuminga, I very much feel that he like is a TFG, this effing guy with Kuminga. I feel like is the energy that Kerr gives out when it comes to Kuminga, good, bad, or ugly. I'm not going to get. He could play Kuminga 40 minutes. He could play Kuminga 10 minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised in this game. He could play him. He could not play him at all, and I would. And you're right. If you're going to do it, do the escalator. I absolutely agree because I think all the every outcome is equally possible. You know, it's not equally possible. It's the Dallas Mavericks at 1.8% winning the NBA lottery after trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. Okay, to wrap up, we got our Tommy John Ballsy parlay of the week. Brandon, this is yours. What do you think?
So we've done a lot of halftime, full-time type stuff this postseason. We've seen a lot of games this year where the one team leads at halftime and then blows it in the second half. We're seeing a lot of second half covers. So that's the setup here. Minnesota has been a second half team all season. We bet Minnesota second halves a lot in the Lakers. We saw a lot of comebacks. We saw them just do that in the third quarter against the Warriors. So we're going to do the same play on both games. We're going to take the road team first half on the money line. Road team wins the first half, home team wins the game. So Warriors win the first half. They make their push. Maybe Kerr has some tricks up his sleeve. Wolves win the game. And then we're doing the same thing in the first game. Knicks first half. Celtics full time. Matt, why are we betting Knicks first? What? The Celtics are winning. Why are we picking that version on that one?
Because I do think that the Knicks come out and it's like the crowd's kind of downtrodden and the Knicks are hanging and the Knicks are like, and the Knicks lead at halftime and the whole garden is sad. And then the Celtics behind championship experience. And also, come on, man, aren't the Knicks due for a collapse here? Like, we think we're getting out of the series without a Knicks collapse. And when
you know what else? You know what else? There's no games on Saturday. There's one game. There's only one game on Friday. You know what game it is? It's Celtics Game 6. The NBA would really love to not have Friday and Saturday with no games. So Celtics full-time, Knicks halftime, Celtics full-time, Warriors halftime, Wolves full-time. What are the odds for our ballsy parlay, Matt?
At Bet365 plus 49.62.
There we go.
Close to 50-1 if we do indeed hit Knicks first half, Celtics full game, Warriors first half, Wolves full game. That's our ballsy parlay of the week, brought to you by Tommy John. That's going to do it for Buckets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. My thanks to David Payne, our producer. Hope you guys enjoy the games. We'll talk to you again tomorrow as we either wrap up some series or wrap up one series, and then we'll talk about Thunder Nuggets and the way that it's going as well. Have yourselves a great Tuesday and Wednesday. Till then, let's get buckets.